Anne Maria DeMars, president of Seven Generation Games. It's my dog Frank back there. Frank, wake up! And today we are going to talk about designing educational games with some help from AI from Seven Generation Games. That's us. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, we have been making games here for over 10 years. And in that time, we've made 33 educational games with over 200,000 users. And we've learned a little bit in that process that I want to share with you. First of all, we all know no one learns from worksheets they don't do. What we're trying to do at Seven Generation Games is replace those boring worksheets, workbooks that so many students just don't do and don't retain information from. Students also don't learn from games they don't play. And finally, we've all seen this, that a lot of games are either bad games or bad education. And what we have learned to do is how to design a game where students learn as they play. So when you get done today, you will have an idea for how to create a game to teach any content in any language. This isn't specific to math, but that is my particular area. We have people in our company that do games in history, in science, in English. Now, you might think the first step is to learn how to use our game builder, which I gotta say is pretty cool. I mean, you just click to pick a new game or edit a game. If you could type, point, and click, you can make a game. So you might think that's the first step, but you would be wrong. Good guess, though. The 5 steps to game design we're going to take today using AI. Number 1, decide what you want to teach. 1 or 2 standards. Now, if you're a teacher, this is pretty obvious to you. To a lot of people that make educational games, they put way too much in it. So whether you're teaching mitigation strategies for research security risks or how to convert fractions to decimals, pick 1 or 2 things you want to teach in this game. That's it. And then add your knowledge to it. Don't worry, we'll go through examples of all of this. Create your prompt. Optimize your prompt. Usually a 0 prompt, the very first one is not going to do it. And edit the results. You might even want to edit these results with your class if you're teaching. So it's pretty cool. The first thing we're going to do here is go to whatever your preferred AI might be. And then decide what you want as standards. Now, in my state, we use the Common Core standards. I am interested in a game for 6th grade, so I'm going to click on Get Grade 6. I want to specifically teach about the number system, and I'm going to pick a couple of standards. Understand ordering and absolute value of rational numbers. And for me, I find it easy to put this all in a document. So I'm going to start with that before I start with my prompt. I'm going to start it in a document. All right, here's my blank doc. And I would like understanding ordering and absolute value of numbers. And I think I will just copy all of this here. These are the two standards I want. Paste that into my document. Step 1, accomplished. Now add in my knowledge. I personally, at the moment, am interested in making a game about Santa Monica, which is where I live. I want to add some details, the stuff that I know about, stuff that I'm interested in having in my game. I want a game about the history of Santa Monica. It should have an introduction as to why I learned about Santa Monica. It should include levels for 1886, 1920 to 1925, because Santa Monica was founded in 1886, 1926, which is when Route 66, woohoo, ends right in Santa Monica, was commissioned as a highway to 1940, because 1941, World War II happened. And whatever the specific details are, I'm sure that you know a lot about your particular content. So that goes in there. If there are any other details that you have in mind specific about your game, add them in. Maybe, like in this case, you have a particular way you want it to start. I say some people think Santa Monica is boring. There are less than 100,000 people living here, whatever. Surrounded by the much bigger city of Los Angeles, Malibu to the north is home to a lot of rich and famous people. So they might think Santa Monica is boring, but they could not be more wrong. That's a little bit of my game background that I want in there. you probably have some content you want besides teach this math standard. So write that down in your document. Now, before you write your prompt, you want to give it some context. So I'm gonna put that up here. This is the context I am giving to Gemini or whatever your AI is. I need to create an educational game that runs on Chromebooks for middle school students using a game builder platform that has blocks of code for each game component. That's us, 7gen blocks. Because the AI isn't all that smart, really, I need to give it some instructions that we as humans know, but the game builder wouldn't necessarily know. Except for the splash screen and in-game block, it's acceptable to use block more than once. So here is going to be my first prompt. Write an educational game design that has the history of Santa Monica as the game narrative and teaches the following math standards. There's my math standards I copied over. I want a game about the history of Santa Monica. It should have an introduction as to why I learn. And there's a little bit of game details I want in there. I included it should have those 5 levels. And I want it to specifically use our 7gen blocks platform. The game should start with the splash screen and with an in-game block. As a human, we know that, but the large language model might not. It should only include the blocks found in this link. And these are all of the blocks that are available from 7gen blocks. Now, if you have the demo version, you only have 8 of those, so you could include a link to just 8, but because I, as a developer, have all of them, I'm going to include all of them. And there is my whole prompt. Pretty long, isn't it? But it didn't take me very long to do it. I wrote the context, that was pretty quick. I wrote the instructions, and there's my prompt with the educational standards I just copied over. So let's copy that whole thing and paste it into Gemini. Now, here is my whole game design, Santa Monica Uncovered, the math behind the city, and it starts out with a visual graphic with the original Santa Monica Pier, which is super cool because I can get some of those images from the Library of Congress. And since I live in Santa Monica, I actually went and took pictures. So I have primary sources from way back when and primary sources from today. Cool thing to teach about history, primary sources. So there is the beginning, the splash screen, a little bit of the visual novel, a local middle school historian named Leo. Starts out with my, some people think Santa Monica is boring. And here it gives me level by level. Here's the first math problem. Piling A is at negative 15 feet. Piling B is at negative 30 feet. Negative 15 is greater than negative 30 because negative 15 is higher up. That would be something that I could fairly easily illustrate. A visual novel, matching terms block. I'm going to save this actually, but it could be better. It gives a moving targets game where you're clicking on airplanes flying across the screen. But I don't like about this that as far as a game part, something where you're collecting objects or running across the screen or jumping from platforms, it doesn't even get into that to level 3. So this is a good start. And I'm going to go ahead, copy this, and I will keep it. I will end up with a bunch of game design documents. All right, so that was okay. Now I am going to go back, take my original prompt. So you can copy your prompt right here, right? So that whole long thing. And I'm going to say, optimize this prompt to make a more engaging game that is still teaching the standards. Each level should include at least one gameplay component. So now what I'm going to get Gemini to do for me is actually write a better prompt. Let's take a look at my new prompt. This version is engineered to force the AI to prioritize active, engaging gameplay mechanics over passive reading while strictly adhering to the math standards. I like that idea. The historical timeline and the 7gen blocks platform rules, because that's what we're using. It gives these instructions: act as an expert educational game designer and middle school curriculum developer. Your game must explore the history of Santa Monica, proving that the city history is dynamic and mathematically fascinating. All right, so let's And notice the instructions here, copy and paste the text below. So let's do that. And now this will give me a second game design. And sometimes the second game design is fine and I go with it. Sometimes I still don't like it. It uses magicians or it uses time travel or something like that, and I just really don't like it. I kind of like this one. Players become temporal urban planners. A glitch in the historical archives has scrambled the history of Santa Monica, California. To rebuild the city's timeline from its original dirt roads to a bustling tech hub, players must solve mathematical anomalies in building the city's foundation. Okay, I like that. Now, this still doesn't have a game part in here. Like I would have something where they're running to escape the waves or something like that. So I think that's a problem here. This has the moving targets one still. This has the runner game where there's a construction worker running down an unfinished city grid, and that looks pretty cool. So this is interesting because this particular game only uses the 8 blocks that are in the demo. So I kind of like that. So I think I will save this one as well. All right, one last modification. I think it could still be better. I feel like it doesn't have enough actual game components in it here. Modify the design so that every level uses at least one block in the game blocks and at least one assessment block. For each level, it's got some kind of gameplay. So this one's got a hidden object. They have to find the 5 hidden blueprint tubes. This one's got a jigsaw puzzle where the diner's financial ledger has been shredded, and that kind of fits because this one is talking about depression and debt and the math standard. It's looking at debt as a negative number. So I like this one a lot. Now you may, and I do sometimes find as you go through it that I don't think this math problem works here. It's kind of like chocolate covered broccoli. It doesn't really fit in with the rest of the story. But in this case, I really like it. I think I have my game design. I'm going to copy the response, paste it there. What do you think, Frank? That's my dog, Frank. Anyway, I can now do 2 things at this point. I can go ahead and I can start making the art assets for the game. I could do that in one of 2 ways. I could create it myself if I had any artistic talent, which I definitely do not. Or I could create it with some AI like Adobe Firefly, Gemini, Copilot, any of those. So the next step is creating artwork.